When I joined the Belgian national hockey team in 2006, we were ranked 25th in the world. And before every game, while analyzing our opponent, we would look at their offense, their defense, but most importantly, their weakest players. We would plan a strategy around it. And no matter if they had the best attacker, if they had a poor left defender, we would spend most of the game playing down the side of the pitch. Playing to their weaknesses was a game changer for our team. And that's because the strength of the team is the strength of its weakest element. Yet, in our society, we act as if our collective strength was defined by our best element. In the media, we praise star players. We praise Lionel Messi for Argentina's World Cup victory. Yet, in his 18 years with the team, they only made it twice to a World Cup podium. And that's not because Messi wasn't good enough at the time. It is because the best player does not define the team's strength. The weakest does. And that's why leadership, to me, is not just about playing your own best game. It is about lifting everyone up. Similarly, in our society, our focus on star companies is demonstrated by our global obsession with GDP. Yet, GDP hides any information about the equality of a society. The United States of America is the biggest economic power in the world. They rank first in GDP. However, on the OECD Better Life Index, they only rank 10th. And who's first? Norway, known for their inclusion. The Financial Times has shown that the 10% richest American households make 40% more revenues than the 10% richest Norwegians. And when they looked at the 10% poorest Americans, one would expect they make 40% more revenues than their Norwegian equivalent, right? Wrong. And they're not only poorer, they're 34% poorer. So let me put those numbers into some perspective. Let's assume the audience here is representing the United States of America. So on the left side, we have here the 10% richest Americans. You represent 33 million Americans. And on my right-hand side, we have the 10% poorest Americans. You also represent 33 million Americans. So while the first group makes $5,700 monthly net in your pocket, you can afford housing, having a roof above your head, eating, even probably you can afford buying 1 or 2 smartphones every month. But the second group, you make $900 a month, and you struggle to put that roof above your head. Now, if the audience was Norway, well, the first group, you still make $4,000 a month, still a decent salary. And the second group, you make $1,400 a month. So while there's still a difference, there is also, and most importantly, a common base that allows everyone to live a decent life. So which country would you rather live in? In a game, it is not about how many goals you scored, like the GDP. It is about the difference between the goals you scored and the goals you conceded. And you never start by focusing on scoring goals. The rule number 1 is that if you don't let any goal in, you cannot lose. Worst case, you draw. I have sat in a debrief after a 4-5 loss, and not a single video analysis was about the missed opportunities, how we could have scored that 5th or 6th goal. It was all about how we could have prevented conceding the 5 goals. The math is simple. If you score a lot of goals, but you concede even more goals, the team loses. And that's why inclusion is so essential. So if a country has the wealthiest people in the world, but has a big portion of the country unable to afford basic needs, the country loses. Financial inequalities is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to inequalities. It is a consequence. We are in the middle of a digital revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, as the World Economic Forum calls it. And it is driving major inequalities. This technological revolution is characterized by the speed of its evolution, and it is fundamentally altering the way we live, work, and relate to one another. The omnipresence and omni-usage of technologies is blurring the border between the physical and the digital world. Internet access, that most of us in the Western world take for granted in our day-to-day lives. We check the news, getting in touch with our close ones, getting inspired by a TED Talk online. Yet, it is driving major inequalities, as more than a third of the world population does not even have access to the internet. In Belgium, the barometer for digital inclusion from the Fondation Rabaudouin has shown that 7% of the working age population does not use the internet. And going beyond the mere internet usage, 46% are digitally vulnerable. That means that 46%, almost half of the country, either does not use the internet or does not have any skill in at least one of the 4 skills from the European Union. Those 4 skills are being able to find and use information online, being able to communicate online, like sending an email, using social media, making a video call, being able to solve problems, like installing an app, transferring files from a device to another, and using software, like a Word document or a spreadsheet. So those 46% digitally vulnerable people in Belgium, that means for Digital Belgian hockey team that we stand no chance in the competition. Out of 11 players, 1 doesn't have a stick to play with, and 4 don't know how to hit the ball. And if you think this is being resolved with a new generation, you'd be mistaken. On that same barometer, filtering on the age category 16 to 24 years old, often called digital natives, 1 person out of 3 is digitally vulnerable. 1 out of 3. Digital skills requirements are increasing year over year, and so does digital vulnerability. So as we implement solutions, we need to be ambitious in those solutions. As we start by focusing on the digitally vulnerable, we should not forget that inclusion is not just about having the tools, the equipment, or understanding the rules. It is about being comfortable enough hitting the ball, that we enjoy playing, and we can express our creativity. So we need to empower everyone to create with digital technologies. And we can empower everyone to create with digital technologies at 3 different levels: the governmental level, the employer level, and the individual level. At the governmental level, we have seen that the fastest increasing digital vulnerability gap is coming from low-educated people, people with their highest diploma as secondary school diploma. Isn't that a strong signal that we should implement digital skills in primary and secondary school curriculum? Back to our Norwegians' best-in-class example. They have not only implemented it in their national primary school curriculum, but they've made it one of the 5 core skills in that same curriculum. And that since 2006. This need to act is what pushed me to start a nonprofit that has been doing exactly the same thing in Belgium for the past 6 years, upskilling hundreds of teachers across the country and empowering them to train the next generation. Secondly, we can act at the employer level. Shall we keep hiring from that small pool of digital savvy people with 10 or more years of experience, blaming it on the education system? One of the best ways to increase diversity in candidate sourcing is to decrease the years of experience requirements. Let's apply the same thing for digital accessibility. Let's hire from those digitally vulnerable, hire based on potential, based on motivation, and then upskill them. And finally, we can act at the individual level. What if we built a place where everyone can use digital technologies in the same way as today we're using a calculator? Bringing your own expertise and leveling it up with digital tools. You can spend time today helping your friends, your family, volunteering to a nonprofit to help older, less educated, poorer people, explain them how to send an email, how to make a video call. Recently, with no line of code, I built an app that allows me to take pictures of my receipts and then send them automatically to my expense report. Instead of keeping it to myself, I spent a couple of hours explaining it to a colleague, and he implemented it for the whole company. We can start a movement today by each spending the time to help people around us. And my hockey story ends well. We trained hard, all together as one team of 11 players, actually 18 as we include the substitutes, leveling each other up, enjoying playing, and expressing our creativity. And that made the magic of a great team. 25th of March, 2012, remains the best day of my life. Against all odds, we joined the top 12 countries in the world, and we qualified for the Olympic Games. Cherry on the cake, we were the first ever Belgian female team to qualify to the Olympic Games. So if you want to be an Olympic-level human being, don't try and become the next best scorer. Be the one who's making sure that the whole team is the strongest it can be. Thank you.